Alright, hello everybody. I was requested to do an unboxing video on my new Ender 3 3D printer. DB Fanboy Gaming over on Twitch and YouTube, cool dude, asked me to do an unboxing. Now, little disclaimer, I kind of cheated a little bit. As you can see, there's some screws and the filament and whatever is over there. I ran the power cord already just to make my life a little bit easier while doing this unboxing. And so that I'm a little bit prepared. I went through the manual a little bit and set the screws out accordingly. So let's dive into it. Super cool looking. Like, to think this is going to make things shortly is incredible. And I'm super excited. So toss that aside. So let's take a look here. Parts list, and it just jumps right into the build instructions, which is interesting to say the least. But you know what, let's get everything out before we go over that. I'll set that off to the side, and let's see here. All I did was lift this whole assembly up and get the bolts and stuff out from underneath it, and I also unwrapped. These came with like plastic wrap on them. I unwrapped them so it's a little bit quicker for me, so I'll just set those guys aside. Let's check this out. Alright, so LCD panel, little encoder knob with a button. What else can we pull out right now? Oh, yep, that comes out. So this would be, I believe this is the x-axis, moves the carriage left and right across the machine. And this would be the extruder itself. This is what moves the filament into the melting point. Very nice. I like how it's pre-assembled partially here. Get this guy out. This should be the power supply. That's nice. Nice little cover. Plug for the power connector. Nice little on-off switch. Oh, okay. So this must be what connects to the printer itself. I was a little concerned that I had to take this thing apart and start wiring stuff. Alright, I guess we'll just lift this whole thing out. Yeah. Oh, that's attached. This thing's fairly light too, by the way. Okay, so set that down and pull this piece of film out. And again, I went through and I opened all the baggies and whatever and laid stuff out so that's easier for the video. This comes pre-assembled this way. This is the up and down movement motor. I'll set that aside. I'm assuming this is part of one of the carriages. This must be what holds the filament spool. Yeah, apparently. Screws are already on it. Oh, and by the way, instead of dicking around with a tripod or whatever, I figured I'd just give you guys a point of view instead with a GoPro. So hopefully this video turns out decent. I thought it was a good idea. Okay, so this must be the uprights. Oh. And there's the Z-axis rod. Alright. I was wondering where they had hidden that. I heard some rattling around when I was taking all the plastic wrap off, but I could not find it. Plastic caps of some form. Scraper to get stuff off the print bed. That's nice. Belt. Stop switch. Probably the Z-axis, since that's the only axis that doesn't really come pre-assembled. Pretty nice little bearing assembly here. Comes with some snips. And a baggie of tools. 2 wrenches, 5 Allen wrenches, and a flathead screwdriver. Alright. Ooh, that can't be good. It looks alright. These bearings are kind of stiff. I guess maybe they're supposed to be. So I guess we can bust these guys out now. The instructions. Look at me already throwing stuff around. It's like I'm working on a car. By the way, speaking of working on a car, I am in the process of replacing a head gasket on a car. So if you notice my hands are kind of dirty or there's crap underneath my fingernails, that's where it's from, and that's as clean as they're going to get for right now. My entire arms were black about 8 hours ago. Yeah, uprights. This is the front of the machine. Yeah, and it looks like the left side has 2 holes towards the bottom, and the right side has 2 holes on the left side. Shorter, longer. So left side and the closest point goes at the bottom. So that would be these. Yes. Left side, closest point at the bottom. So that would go just like that. Alright, so again, these are the longest screws. Is that a fat boy? It is a fat boy. Look at that, first try. I guess I can just stand this up on its side. Ooh, it's a little side heavy. Okay, so now gotta hold it. Alright. I'm just gonna snug them down pretty good. Don't want to break these. These are aluminum extrusions. Don't want to strip them out. Ooh, now it'll hold itself up. I'm curious if I should go through and snug up all the screws that came installed factory. Let's see how tight they are. It's kind of loose. Just for some peace of mind here. Or that one. So 2 of those were tight. Man, some of these are pretty loose. I'm glad I went through and checked tightness on them. Alright, starting to look like a thing. Looks like it's the screen and the power supply. Man, I really don't like that. I wonder if I could relocate this. Oh yeah, I definitely could. Yeah, that's definitely going to go down there eventually. It looks like it'll fit all the way back as well. Looks like that'll have enough room actually. I'll have to change up this cover here and figure out how to mount it, but that's going to go down there 100%. That looks so much nicer. Instead of trying to reinvent this thing already, I'm going to go ahead and mount this guy on, and that uses M420, the shorter socket head screws, which would be these guys. Ooh, first try. Start this through the hole, and line it up on this side. I really hope I got the angle right on the hat cam, and I hope I'm not just like showing you guys nothingness while I'm doing this. Make sure it's lined up. Yep, I can't really adjust that. That was relatively painless. Must be these guys. Yeah. Is it the same wrench? It is. That's 3 first tries in a row. Plugs. There it is. EXP3. EXP1. EXP2. EXP. I'm going to say it's that one. Oh, we'll see. There we go. Next step is a stop switch, and it looks like it is for the Z-axis. Okay, so T-slot nuts. Snug the bolts up just a little bit so they can't spin. Boom. Make sure it's nice and square. Why is this? Oh, it was on a wire. Okay. Next step, Z-axis motor, 2 M4x18 countersunk screws. And the Z-axis rod. So mount the motor opposite the power supply. Back side. I'm assuming that's what those 2 screws are for, the screw holes. Oh Lord. Doesn't seem like there's any adjustment in this. Just kind of bottoms out in there. That's a little awkward looking. It's fat at the bottom and very skinny at the top. Oh, and it's crooked left and right too. It was way back there. Alright, we'll run it. I know there's upgrade parts for this to align this a little bit better, and I'm obviously going to have to print those. And we're going to be assembling the X-axis, it looks like. And according to the picture, hole, big gap, big hole, hole, big hole, small hole, small hole. So yep, that's matching the picture. And that was this piece here. Like this. It's pointing to these 2 holes, it looks like. How am I supposed to get to those? So that slots over top of the screw head. Alright. And yeah, those screw holes line up down there. What? I guess I have to drop these in between the plates? That is so awkward. Oh my god, what a nightmare. Okay, I got the screw started. Oh no. It's so awkward. Who designed this? Oh, screw down. God. I don't have small fingers. I can't. Okay, the wrench through the hole, onto the screw. Screw turn, please. Screw go in hole. Oh, dear Jesus, just go in the hole. There it is. Man, that's horrible. That's a bad design. I mean, I guess you gotta work with the space you have, but come on. I guess I just flush this up to the plate. There's a lot of slop in these screws. Man, that's stupid. Can I even torque them down? Yeah, I guess I can. I'm a little less frustrated that I could actually put some tension on them. But man, that is dumb! And this goes like so, according to the picture. Ooh. That's pretty nice. I guess those are supposed to be tight bearings after all. And yeah, I'd have to go like that. And there's another recess for that screw head, so it has to go on like that. And look, I can actually access the screws. Does it go this way? No, it goes the other way. I'm dumb. Look how much quicker this side is. And then flush up the plate with the extrusion. And put some twisty power into them. Feels good. Go to this one. Alright, I'm happy with that. This guy. This must be for the belt. Okay. And it says to move it out to tighten. That kind of makes sense for the belt. And it looks like the belt is next, actually. So, which way is the pulley? Pulley is this way. So this has to go in here like so. We'll feed that guy through here. And I guess I go back over the top of that pulley. And now what? Under the wheels, apparently? And around the end pulley. And back up through here. That was pretty easy. I'll tighten those bad boys down. Alright. Next step is apparently dropping it on the rails. And gotta get that rail lined up. And I guess I just screw that down. Cool. You know, I know I'm gonna have to move this up and down, like to level it and stuff, I think. It'd be nice if there was a knob up here. And it looks like I have to tighten those two screws here and here. Wow, that's a gem. Don't tighten it too tight. Now, if that's not technical terminology, then I don't know what is, because that is an incredible phrasing that only an engineer could have come up with. Don't tighten it too tight. What is too tight? Yeah, that feels terrible. And now you can see that with the axis at the bottom of its travel, it's pushing this out now, which means this motor is too close. So I'm definitely have to put the spacer part. I know there is a spacer or an alignment something that goes in here to align this better parallel to this rail. But yeah, that looks gross and it feels horrible once it's down there. It's like pinched almost. So don't tighten it too tight. Okay, 2 fingers. Hopefully that's not too tight enough. Alright, don't tighten it too much. Got it. It must be these last 4 screws here. Am I missing a step? I may have skipped something. It's a little tight, but I guess it's going to pull these parallel. So I'm not too concerned about it being a little tight there. And it must be the big wrench again. It sure is. I'm going to bring them all the way down to the bottom. And then I'll go through and I'll tighten all 4. And yeah, that is definitely pulling these parallel. I mean, that's kind of handy. Boom. I go throwing tools around again. Did I miss something? I feel like I had to have missed something. It's like, this hose isn't even attached. Or tube, PTFE tube, whatever that is. Right there, apparently. Okay, and I'm assuming that's what this coupler is for. I'm going to assume this is another don't tighten too tight moment. Because that's plastic and that's brass. And this is just a push to connect fitting. I know that from plumbing experience. They included these little clippy-doos here. That just holds the lock in place. Put it on both of those. And I believe I'm almost done, except for wiring. It's really short. It says Z must go on this motor. Okay. Let's see. X-axis. And it's 4 wires. It must be this motor here. There it is. X-axis 2 wires. And the stop switch for the X-axis is in there. E extruder, I'm assuming, which is this guy. This is the extruder motor. Again, that moves the filament to the hot end, which melts it and dispenses it. This is all I got left. Let's see if we get power on. I powered on. Alright, so I just realized I forgot to install this guy, the spool holder. So I'm going to go ahead and toss this on here real quick. There we go. And then I guess these end caps go on as well. There it is. And I would like to run the filament through preheat PLA. And I'll just do the end and not the bed for now. I don't like how close that is to the screw, because that could potentially rub and it'll lose material. Okay, so I just squeeze that, feed that on through, and it's about right here. I'm going to wait until that's done heating, and then we'll see if we get some extrusion out of it. You know, I'm overall happy with the machine itself. I mean, it's sturdy, it's rigid. The print quality, I'm hoping, is going to be good. But there's just some like random little details that kind of irk me. Like, what is that? That's just super tacky looking. And then another thing I noticed was like the bed harness for the heated bed is all twisted around all kinds of goofy. Like, why isn't it just straight like this? Why is it curly-cued? And like, oh yeah, that wire is super close to the Z motor as well. And I don't like that. And there's not enough room to rotate it this way, so I'd have to rotate it that way and have another wire coming out the back. I don't know. Okay, PLA is preheated. Let's try and feed some through and see if we can get some extrusion here. Yep, and it's starting to extrude. That's super awesome. Some black filament started coming out. It's probably from when they did the quality control test before they sent it out, I'm assuming. I'll get my memory card loaded up. They have their own like print test files, but if I remember right, they're like 2.5 hour, 3.5 hour, and a 4 hour print, and I don't want to wait that long. I just want to print something small, so I'm going to 3D model something, you know, fairly small. Actually, you know what? I'll print the spacer for this motor back here to align the Z-rod properly. And I'm not sure I'm thrilled about the location of the spool holder, just because this long dangly thing might get tangled like it's already trying to do. And I believe, remember I mentioned I don't like how close this is? I believe there is a 3D print file that is a guide that essentially slips around here and keeps the filament away from the rod and bolts those 2 screws. So a spacer here, a guide here, and then I'm going to figure out how to relocate this spool holder. I would like it like off to the side, but I don't know if it's going to interfere with all these wires or whatever. I'll figure that out, and I'll get my first prints going and get another video up for the first print. I appreciate you guys stopping by and watching. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments, and I'll do my best to answer them. But that's going to be it for this video. Thanks for stopping by.